We're talking about child support. How easy is it to reach an agreement on paying child support? Now, these new changes came into force today, effectively saying that separated parents will be charged if they can't come to an amicable agreement on child maintenance. Now, it seems the father will have a 20% fee added to his payment and the mother will have to pay around 4% of what she gets. But how easy is it to come to an arrangement, and how have you been affected? Let's get a word with Ray Barry from Wolverhampton, who's chair of Real Fathers for Justice. Good afternoon, Ray.
Good afternoon, Caroline.
Listen, thanks for coming on and chatting to me. Now, these changes, they've been talked about for a long time, but before we get on to that, how hard is it for couples to actually sit down and agree on child support?
Well, I think in a lot of cases it really is very difficult. The very fact that a couple have separated and find themselves in this position is itself an indication that they don't get on very well. And very often there's a lot of harsh things said, there's a lot of cruel things perceived to be done by each parent, and so they're not best friends at all, and it's difficult for people in that frame of mind to come to an agreement about anything. But the fact of the matter is that it's always better if they can manage that. It's better for everybody if they can achieve that. But it's by no means simple. There's a lot of challenges to it. You've got to get over, the hurt that you feel, and to be looking in very practical terms about, look, this has got to be done, and let's just sit down with a different hat on and put those differences to one side, and let's see if we can come to some practical arrangements about payment of child support. And while we're at it, let's see if we can come to some arrangements as well about when each of us will spend time with the child, so that we don't need to involve the state in all of this stuff.
It's what you say, though. It's easy to say. You and I talking about this now, it seems to make logical sense that is the way forward. But, in a lot of cases, tensions run high, emotions run high, things bubble over, and you think, right, I'm going to have an amicable conversation. And then before you know where you are, you're screaming or rowing about whatever led you to be in that situation in the first place, aren't you? That's
right. I mean, very often when those same two people get into the same room together, it's those unpleasant memories that come to the surface, and then before you know it, you're not actually behaving in a rational manner at all. You're behaving, you're being driven by the same emotions that separated you in the first place.
Absolutely, and I guess you've got the resentment from, if it's one person's choice or one person was the perpetrator of this and sort of wanted that marriage to end, you've got the other one who's really emotional about that because they begrudge or resent being put in this situation in the first place.
That's right, very often I think in a separation it isn't really a mutual thing. It's one person more than the other who has decided that they want to end the relationship. And so they both come to this situation with a very, very different package of emotions behind them. One, might even have very strong feelings for the other and would like to get back together with them again. And that can cloud things as well. I think another thing here really as well, Caroline, is there's a kind of disconnect between the two issues about seeing one's children and having to pay maintenance for them. Mm. And from I think most ordinary people would see this as being something that the two should have a connection with each other. That it's fundamentally unfair, in other words, for a dad to have to pay child support for a child that he's not allowed to see.
Absolutely.
But the kind of the way that the state agencies view this, and I'm thinking here of the family courts that deal with contact arrangements and the CMS that deal with child support payments, they see the two things as being completely unconnected with each other. And I think that's in a way part of the problem. I think we ought to be a bit more pragmatic about it and have some sympathy with a father who doesn't pay because he's not allowed to see his child. I think if we're a bit more practical along those lines, it would lead to agreements more effectively than they are at the moment.
Now, you, as we said when we introduced you, you are the chair of Real Fathers for Justice. So, you must have talked to many people that feel, very hard done by in all of this or frozen out altogether by their families.
That's right. I mean, that's essentially where the organisation came into existence from, was dads who couldn't get to see their children. And then the kind of side issue to this is I'm having to pay this child support. I don't think it's fair. And also, they're charging too much, because one of the problems with the CSA has been incompetence. And I don't just say that lightly. They were found by a common select committee to be not fit for purpose at one stage. So dads are not simply feeling the resentment about paying at all when they're not allowed to see their children, and perhaps they didn't want to separate in the first instance. But then they find that they're having to deal with this agency that can't get its figures right. You know, and they're, you know, they know what the figures are, they know what their earnings are, they can work out the percentage for how much they're supposed to pay, but for some strange reason they're being charged a great deal more, such that they can't even maintain a proper home for themselves because of the amount that's being deducted from them.
Well, listen, Ray, we're going to get some stories. We've got people calling through that have perhaps gone through what you have, talked about there. But thanks very much for your time. Really good to chat to you, Ray. Take care now.
Nice to talk to you, Caroline.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
That is Ray Barry there, who's the chair of Real Fathers for Justice. Now, I want your stories on this, please, this afternoon. 03453 009956. That's 03453 009956. In your experience, how easy is it to reach an agreement on paying child support? Did you have an amicable conversation? Did you iron it all out between you? Were you able to put your differences to one side? Or in the event, did that prove nigh on impossible? We're going to talk to Mitch in Dudley and Maxine in Sedgley about this next.